Hello everyone, we are Geeks Not Nerds. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince.
Vince, today's question comes from Invisible Jaguar 1, who says, "Hey guys,
Hi.
what are your thoughts on Marvel? Do you think they should expand their horizons with animated films? I think they need to do an animated X-Men film. I recommend a video from you guys regarding Marvel animated films." Well, here it is.
So he did a version of recommends to make us do a GNN.
That's right.
That's
absolutely.
what we call full circle.
That's a little meta, yeah. so Vince, Marvel animated features.
Yes.
There have been a few, and there have been some mildly successful ones.
Indeed there has.
Should there be more? What should they be about? And why does DC have more of a monopoly on this than Marvel does right now?
Well, I think DC's been putting them out for years. I mean, animated television, animated movies. DC's been doing it a lot longer than Marvel has, or at least has been putting out quality stuff a lot longer than Marvel has.
And DC has a team that's been doing this for a long time, like one set of people. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Whereas when Marvel does it, my understanding, not that I've seen them all, and not that I've really looked into this, but my understanding is that they probably get different people for different movies.
You know, something just occurred to me. I mean, I realize we're talking about movies specifically, but Marvel had stuff. They had animated TV shows in the '60s. Did DC have any animated stuff in the '60s?
Oh yeah, and well before that too.
Okay, because I just couldn't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, then again, there's the Fleischer stuff.
Yeah,
and that stuff was serials.
But they had stuff. Yeah, but they had stuff in between there too. There had already. I mean, by the '60s, there had already been an Aquaman show for a little bit, and yeah,
Super Friends and whatnot.
Well, no, before Super Friends.
No, I get you. I suddenly remember things now. Brain cells.
Well, Super Friends was '60s. I mean, it started there, and then actually it was '70s, or early '70s. Anyway, whatever.
I blame Twilight killing brain cells.
No, fair enough.
But anyway, should Marvel make more? Yeah, I think they should.
Do you think they ought to?
I mean, I think that there is a certain amount of a certain ratio from DC to Marvel, and a lot of it, I think, hinges around Batman. I think a lot of it hinges around the animated series, and Bruce Timm, or maybe I should say Bruce Timm. You know, animated series, Batman is not necessarily fair to say that. Bruce Timm is like the end-all, be-all of comic book animated features.
That's true, but Bruce Timm wouldn't have even gotten his start had it not been for the success of the '89 Batman. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, do you realize that he and his team really had not done a lot of animation before that? I mean, like, they kind of reinvented the wheel, which is part of why that series is still, to this day, considered one of the best things ever done in animation, because they kind of started over and said, well, this is what people traditionally think you're supposed to do. We're going to go back to Fleischer, start there, and then work our way forward. And that's what they did. I think it's two big things as far as why they haven't done a lot of them, and then we'll get into what we think they ought to do. I think that part of it is exactly that. I was going to make that point before you did, that DC already had the market really cornered on animation. But I also think part of it is because DC can't make the live action thing happen, and Marvel has. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure why Marvel would feel the need to have a whole lot of animation just because they're making so much money with their live action. Whereas DC is making more animated stuff. I think maybe partially because they can't get a whole lot of stuff off the ground for live action big budget films. Although at the same time, those animated movies aren't making a lot of money. I mean, they're not doing that well. They seem to be making them mostly because that team still wants some work. You know what I mean?
They know that they can.
Like Warner's is behind them, but exactly. I mean, I think Warner's is behind them in that they like their superheroes having those animated movies, but they're being really particular about which ones they can make because they want to make sure that they make enough money to offset the cost of making them naturally. So I mean, there's a lot of things they've wanted to do that they haven't been able to do. Bruce Timm wanted to do a Batgirl Year One movie, and he got shut down on that. And stuff like that, just because certain projects they decided wouldn't make any money. So obviously there's a reason that we've already had 2 Green Lantern animated movies, which feels kind of weird in my brain. But obviously they decided, well, we got a movie coming out, we better make one this year, even though they had already done one a couple years back.
Yeah, the first one, the first Green Lantern one that I didn't think of, is an origin story, effectively.
Right.
Is the second one an origin story as well?
No, I don't think so. It's called Emerald Knights. I don't know what it's based on, but I think it's probably based on a graphic novel. I don't know, though. I don't know that. I haven't watched it. It just came out.
Well, I don't know. I hope it's not, because we already have that.
I'm sure it's not. I'm sure it's not.
Anyway.
I would be surprised if it were, but we're talking about things we don't know because I haven't watched it.
Who needs to know about things to talk about? That's what being an English major was all about, you know?
Right. How much can we BS our way through this? But yeah, so I think that has some to do with it. But anyway, so if they were going to make more of them, what would they make? What do you think they ought to make?
Well,
what's been untapped?
What's been untapped? You see, that's a difficult question, because there's certain things that have been tapped, but they haven't been tapped in the right ways, in my opinion. Like, I would like an X-Men film or an X-Men TV series that's not Evolution. And
well, I didn't watch Wolverine and the X-Men. I don't know if it was any good.
You know, I watched a couple episodes. It wasn't bad.
But I'm talking about it as far as like direct-to-video animated movies, because because that's what the question was about.
That's true. I keep forgetting the question.
I think it's okay, man. So it's the hat. You're not wearing the hat you usually wear.
This one has holes in it. It just goes straight through.
I think that the more successful ones they've had have been somewhat based on the formula that Bruce Timm has been doing. And by formula, I simply mean they've been tapping the comics and doing direct adaptations of comic books. Mm-hmm. And fans are liking that. So the fans are buying those. If you can get 100,000 fans to buy that, then you might make your money back. And then you go over to Marvel, and the ones that they've done that have done the best, they've done that with. They did that with Planet Hulk. People liked that. They bought it. That did well. They more or less kind of did that with Ultimate Avengers, although it wasn't based so much on a specific plot as it was just, we're going to do the Ultimates, but we're going to call them Avengers, and we're going to kind of grab from here and here and here, and the first one did okay. I think the second one didn't do nearly as well. But I guess what I'm saying is, what I'd like to see them do is follow suit with what Bruce Timm is doing over at DC and grab from actual comic book arcs and even some events. I would say that I like that Bruce Timm is finally doing some movies of things that people have heard of. I mean, he just did All-Star Superman, which I like quite a bit. Naturally, not nearly as good as the book, but they can only make 80-minute movies. It was pretty good. I don't know if you've seen it, but you need to, because I think that well, it's one of your favorite things, so you need to see it.
Yeah, All-Star Superman, the comic was great.
But they're about to put out. I don't think it's out yet, but they're about to put out Year One, Batman Year One.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah. And I mean, I like that they're finally doing things that people know and are big story arcs that fans point to as being the big, huge, important stuff in comic book history. I think it's cool that we're finally making some movies out of these, and I think that animated features make so much more sense for those kinds of things than trying to do them in live action. So I'm glad that we're seeing some of that happen.
You know, one of the things that I thought DC was doing, or at least what I always just assumed they were doing, was trying to test the market for certain things. Like, well, let's think about doing a Wonder Woman movie. Well, first let's do a Wonder Woman animated and see if people buy that.
I think that was happening because the Wonder Woman animated movie, curiously, is not based on a particular arc. Mm-hmm. It's an original standalone origin.
It was solid
story, and it's good. Yeah.
See, that's the thing, is that I think if Marvel started releasing more animated features as a market tester, then maybe they would just start beefing up their I want to say the word portfolio, but that's not the one I want to use. Anyway, beefing up their horde of animated features. So, because there's a Spider-Man movie coming out, so why not make an animated Spider-Man movie? Because just doggy tail on it. That would be a good idea for just marketing wise.
Yeah, because DC doesn't seem to have any beef with well, we've already got a Batman animated show on right now, but we'll still do these Batman animated features. So just because they might have a Spider-Man show on or about to be on, they're about to do Ultimate, it doesn't mean that they can't have an animated Spider-Man movie. And I agree with the person who asked this question that it would be cool to see an animated X-Men movie. I'd really like that. But I would say, again, based on a particular arc, like, stories I'd love to see in animation. And by the way, I don't like motion comics. Like, they're doing a lot of motion comics and stuff like this, but I have a hard time watching them. I'd love to see full-fledged animated features. And you just have to hope they sell, because they're expensive to make. But Origin.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that in animation, because if you look at that, and I know that's not everybody's favorite thing, but I like it, and I think that if you look at the art in that could make for some really beautiful animation, potentially. Mm-hmm. I would say.
Weapon X would be cool, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Weapon X. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't mind seeing some Fantastic Four, like maybe Mark Waid's run. I mean, granted, I know he had like at least 3 or 4 story arcs, but the one where Doom decides that he's going to become a sorcerer, that'd be really cool to see.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's lots of things they could pull from. I mean, I'd like to see maybe some characters that haven't had any representation, but that's just kind of dropping a wish in a bucket.
I'd say go back to the movies and to the live action films. Find the films that didn't work all that well in live action, and find the really good story arcs, and then put those in animation. Silver Surfer.
Right.
I think a Silver Surfer, and you know the Silver Surfer mini. I reviewed it on my comic show this week. The Silver Surfer mini just ended this week, and it is gloriously drawn. I mean, it's just beautiful, and I'd love to see something like that transferred to animation. You can do so much cool cosmic stuff in animation in a way that you just can't make it work. And I'm talking traditional cell animation, not computer-generated stuff. You know, give me 2D cell animation for Silver Surfer. You know, so we can see Galactus done right.
I just had 2 ideas. One, I would love to see a Nightcrawler in the Big Top type of story, like a circus Nightcrawler type of. I mean, if they can do Graysons in the Big Top, they can do Nightcrawler.
That wouldn't really appeal to me, but
I think that'd be neat. But
it wouldn't sell.
Something that would sell. Well, you know, that's the thing, is what would we like to see as opposed to what would sell.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Here's something that's going to sell.
No, I'm sorry. I asked you what would you like to see. That was unfair of me. But I'm just saying, no one would buy that.
Here's something
you would be in the line
buy.
of the 5 people who went to buy that.
Here's my ticket. It's not a ticket. That's money for the movie. Take the DVD. Thank you. But so here's something that will sell. I guarantee it. Make some PG-13 Deadpool movies.
Oh yeah, sure.
People would show up in groups to buy stacks and stacks. I mean, come on.
And I would make the case, and maybe I'm going to get lynched for this, that Deadpool could potentially work in animation in a way he doesn't work in comics. Just because, I don't like Deadpool all that much. He's never been my favorite thing. He's growing on me a little bit as time goes on. But I mean, like, the whole breaking the fourth wall thing, it kind of gets old a little bit on the page, but I could see that being fun in animation, you know, in another way. I don't know about you.
See, that's not just a Deadpool thing, even. I mean, I kind of agree with Cap here. I read the John Byrne's run on Sensational She-Hulk back in the day, and it was good. I liked the humor in it, but every time she broke the fourth wall and tried to climb out of the panel, the actual visual of trying to climb out of a panel is amusing, but the idea of her doing that wasn't really funny to me. It didn't float my boat.
But in a moving picture, when a character knows that they're in a story and they step away from the conversation and they turn to talk to the camera, in a comedy, that could be funny. So I'm just saying that could potentially work. I mean, I like it when characters sometimes realize that they're in something fictitious, and kind of you know in. This is different, but I mean, like, it's sort of funny in the same way that, like, the Tick narrating his own existence is funny, even though the Tick, of course, doesn't really break the fourth wall. But I mean, like he talks to himself as if he knows he's in a comic, or like he wants to read the comic of his own life. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. And I can see something like that working with Deadpool. You know, where he's just constantly narrating his own life. He's that pompous and arrogant. He's just like, I'm so awesome that I'm gonna like play out my life in my own head.
You know, I think the breaking the fourth wall is much more interesting when it's less in your face. I mean, I don't recall them actually doing it in Suicide Kings, which is the only Deadpool arc that I've read that I enjoyed. But Suicide Kings is good.
My phone is buzzing.
So maybe I should recommend that. I'll recommend Suicide Kings at some point. But you know, Deadpool, I think, needs to have it animated. I
think so too. I do, and this is coming from people who aren't big Deadpool guys. But I would like to see that. Sure.
Yeah. I'm not opposed to Deadpool because, as I said, I've read some stuff that I enjoy. But what else should they do in an animated feature?
I mean, I would say, and again, I might get lynched for this. I would say some of the events might be cool in animation, just because some of these big stories can be fun. I mean, like, you know what I'm going to say. Infinity Gauntlet, but beyond Infinity Gauntlet, I think even Secret Wars could be cool.
Yeah, Secret Wars would be neat. I mean, if people think that it's a good idea to make a next or Avengers Young People or whatever that thing is called, then surely Infinity Gauntlet and Secret Wars could work in there. I mean, also if they're going to publicize the daylights out of their, let's call it daylights because that's not the word I was going to use, but if they're going to publicize fear itself and civil war and all these things to the point that it's sickening, then maybe people would buy the animated features.
Well, I imagine they would. Yeah, I mean, and I'm not sure how badly I need to see Secret Wars, Civil War the movie, because I didn't like Civil War that much. But
I wouldn't buy it. But still, I think the market might be ripe for it.
But I think the point is, even people like me who don't like Civil War that much would see it just out of curiosity.
You might not buy it, but you might rent it.
But you might even watch it just because you were curious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, maybe they can turn this cluster hoo-ha into something that's not such a cluster hoo-ha.
Well, what do you think? Do you think that Marvel needs to make more animated features? What would you like to see, and what do you think about the ones they've done so far? Leave us a comment. Let us know. If you think Vince should keep wearing this hat, tell us about that also. And if you have an idea for us for something to talk about in a future video, leave that in the comments as well. And thanks a lot for watching. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince, reminding you to support your local comic book store.
We'll see you later. Only you can prevent forest fires.
Only
Actually,
you can prevent
quite easily
fires.
start